So, you've done it. You spent weeks, maybe even months assessing all your AI security risks. And now you're sitting on this mountain of data. But here's the thing. The hardest part isn't getting the data, it's figuring out what to do with it. Today, we're going to build a blueprint that turns all that analysis into real, effective action.
And just a quick note before we dive in, everything we're covering today is straight from Chapter 8 of the fantastic tutorial on AI security training from Virtualization Options LLC.
All right, so you did the heavy lifting. You ran the interviews, you did the risk analysis, you've pinpointed the knowledge gaps all across your organization. You have this pile of incredibly valuable data. But the question that's probably staring you in the face is, now what? How do you actually turn all that insight into training that works?
And that brings us right to our first big topic, closing that gap between having the analysis and actually implementing something. This is the exact spot where so many great training ideas just fizzle out. They get lost in a sea of data without a clear map to shore.
Let's be really clear about this. Without a solid plan, your assessment findings are just interesting trivia. They're just facts on a page. That translation step from data to a plan is absolutely critical. If you fumble it, all that hard work you put into the assessment, it could honestly be for nothing.
This slide just nails the challenge, doesn't it? Over on the left, you've got your raw materials, all that data on risks and needs. And on the right, that's where we want to be, an effective program that's actually making the company safer. The entire game is about building a rock-solid bridge to get from one side to the other.
So how in the world do we build that bridge? Well, the answer is to create what the source material calls a training blueprint. And I love that term because that's exactly what it is. It's the architectural plan for your entire program, making sure everything you build is intentional, sturdy, and built for a purpose.
Now, the formal name for this is a training scope document, and its whole job is to take all that messy assessment data and turn it into concrete, clear specifications. Think of it as your single source of truth for the project. It stops you from building too little and leaving huge security gaps, but it also stops you from building way too much and just overwhelming everybody.
And the source material just says it perfectly. Getting this scope right is a strategic balancing act. It's what makes sure your program is laser-focused and effective, not wasteful and not incomplete. This isn't just about managing a project. This is fundamental to your security strategy.
Okay, so we're all on board with needing a blueprint, but what actually goes into one? What are the key pieces of this architectural plan? Let's break it down.
First, you've got to lay the foundation with the strategic components. This is the what and the why of your program. This means crystal clear training objectives. Not just what people will know, but what will they be able to do after the training. It defines exactly who your target audiences are, the specific topics you'll cover, and this is a big one, your success metrics. How are you going to prove that this thing actually worked?
All right, once that strategy is locked in, you get down to the brass tacks, the logistical components. This is the how and the when. This is where the plan gets real. You'll figure out your delivery methods, you'll detail what you need in terms of budget, people, and tech, you'll map out a realistic timeline, and you'll write down any constraints or assumptions that could trip you up later.
Now, wouldn't it be nice if we had unlimited time and money to build everything in our blueprint all at once? Yeah, of course it would. But we live in the real world. So the next critical step is prioritization. You have to make smart, data-driven decisions about what gets built first.
The key is to use a framework, not just your gut feeling. Look at this chart here. Notice how risk severity is by far the biggest bar? That's your heavyweight. Why? Because tackling the biggest risks gives you the best bang for your buck in terms of security. Of course, regulations and business impact are important, but mitigating risk is priority number one.
Let's see how this actually works. In this little example, we're comparing two potential training topics. Phishing via Gen AI. That scores a 9 out of 10 on risk severity. And since that factor is weighted by 3, boom, that's 27 points right there. Data privacy basics is important, but its risk score is lower. When you tally it all up, the Gen AI topic has a way higher score. This isn't a guess. It's a clear, objective reason to build that module first.
This whole idea of prioritizing leads us to an even smarter way to design your program, thinking in modules. Instead of building one giant clunky course, you create a flexible system of interchangeable parts. For a topic like AI that is changing by the minute, this is an absolute game changer.
This chart shows you the perfect way to structure it. Think of it like a pyramid. At the bottom, you have your foundation modules. These are the core concepts that every single employee needs to know.
Then you layer on role-specific content for teams like HR or finance. And at the very top, you have your advanced modules for the real power users or your leadership team. This lets you create customized, relevant training for everyone.
And the benefits of this approach are just huge. A new threat pops up, you can update one small module without having to rebuild the entire program. You can mix and match modules to create custom learning paths. And, tying back to our last point, you can stage your development, build the highest priority modules now, and add the others later. It's just so much more efficient, flexible, and ready for the future.
So let's bring this all home. A really well-thought-out blueprint does so much more than just keep a project on schedule. Its real power is that it's the engine that transforms your abstract findings about risk into actual, tangible risk reduction for your company.
And that leaves us with one final question for you to take away. When you look at your own training plan, is it just a simple list of topics you want to cover, or is it a strategic, prioritized blueprint that's actually built to last? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.